Hi again. Sorry, we had a bit of a blooper there with the teenagers just punching in the subject. There we go. Post. Hey Parin, how are you? Okay. Why am I not able to see the request? View request. Go live. There. Almost in a second. Hey Nidhi. Hi Parin. Hi Ruch. How are you?
Hello.
There you are.
Yes,
See,
I'm
social media technology challenge completely not able to figure out how to add people even after 6 months of doing chats. How are
Can
you?
you even see me and everything?
I can see you, I can hear you, and all of that. I think Instagram has changed its format a little bit, so I'm struggling with the new format. Okay, Nanu, I'm going to quickly introduce you. Ananya Kalantri, a guest for today. She's a 12th grader at the Hill Springs International School, and she wants to pursue political science in her college. Is that right?
Yep.
And since her ninth grade, she's been writing blogs on mental health. And she's also someone I have known since she was a little baby. So I'm very proud of her and very happy to have her on my chat today. Welcome to my chat, Ananya Kalanzri. Although
Thank
I'm very used to saying Nanu, so please bear with me on that. And let's dive right in, as I always say. So, Nanu, tell me, what is this whole social media black hole that you think? I've been reading about your blogs, and what do you think the impact of this is on teenagers?
Yeah, so I think that social media started off with a very different cause than what it's ended up with. I think that now a lot of teenagers are facing a lot of mental health diseases in terms of like anxiety, stress, body shaming, and a lot of like even to use, for lack of a better term, FOMO, because of like the comparison they make with personalities that they see online. And I think that it's a very unintended effect that social media has had on everyone. And I see it all around me. Like I see it with
Is
all
it
my friends.
so? Do you think it's unintended?
I would like to believe that it's unintended. Like, I would like to believe that social media was a platform created to spread awareness and to create good change and stimulate good change in the world. But I
Right.
feel like it's transformed and evolved into something completely different. I mean, like, all of us start with it. We wake up in the morning, we check our phone, we check Instagram, and then we go to just before we go to bed, we do the same thing.
Right. So
Yep.
tell me, how does this affect the life of teenagers? How many hours, first of all, how many hours a day are you on social media? Because I know all my friends and everyone complains about how much children are, on the screen time, and how many hours a day do you think you kids are on an average on social media? Just social media.
Right. So I would say like normally like so I think because of like right now currently because I'm in the 12th, I don't use it as much as I would have. But pretty much like when you're in middle school and like the end like towards the beginning of high school, I'm pretty sure about like between 2 to 3 hours at least, like minimum.
So it's a lot more. It
I'm
can't.
sure it's a, but I would like to say that 2 to 3 hours minimum, and then it would go upwards from there, depending on like. So if you're in the ninth grade and you're really trying to, like figure out where you stand socially, and you're trying to like, see new people and meet new people online, then like for sure, like I see my younger brother, like it's way more than how much like I use it. It's at least 5 hours, but
That's a lot. So tell me, how does this pan out in class? How does it, are you guys on social media even when you're in class? Do you have phones accessible in school? Are you just obsessed with it in breaks? Do you just get onto your Instagram? And I also know that people your generation don't even have Facebook. Like even
yeah,
that's updated for your generation, isn't it? It's
yeah.
literally, we only do Instagram or Snapchat, or what are the other social media
I would
platforms?
say Twitter is also like quite in.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Audio. Audio. I can't hear you. I lost your audio. No. Hey guess, sorry. I don't know if it's my network or hers. It seems to be seriously Vedant 17 hours. Uh, can you hear me? Okay, she's left the chat. I'm going to quickly say a hi to all our guests who are on the chat. Hi Vedant, hi Ruch, hey Ashu, Vishal, it's Shilpa, hi, what's up? Uh, Nenika, Meha, I'm guessing you guys are all friends of Nanu. Uh, Anika. Guys, please feel free to put in your inputs during the chat. It's a very interesting conversation we are having today. Ritika, hi Mehul, how are you? Ariel, we have to get this child back on 1 second. She's rejoining. Hi, have added you back. Oh yes, the gaming content. Vedant, that's another. Hi, I can hear you now, darling.
Sorry, I don't know what happened.
No, so Vedant brought another whole level of aspect to this, which is the gaming part. So let's it's kind of blowing my mind right now. Okay, so coming back to
Yeah.
the platforms of social media,
Yeah.
said there's Instagram, there's Snapchat, and there's what else?
Twitter. I feel like those are the three main that we use. And then obviously there's, but I don't know how much I can still be considered like social media. It's a media platform for sure. But
Okay.
I mean, that's another major one.
Okay. And now tell me, what is the, you've been head girl of your school and, you've been writing a blog on a very long time. So I'm sure you have extremely, you have observations on what children are going through at this point. How much of a child's teenager self-worth today is defined by what they see on social media? Very honestly and brutally.
Very large part of it. I think every single person that, like a lot of people derive their validation from the likes and the comments that they get. It's the social currency now, literally. That's what they've termed it. And like people
Or is
are
that
just, yeah, that's what
social?
it's called. It's social currency. So a lot of people derive their validation from that. And I feel like if you ask me brutally about mental health, I see social media more as an addiction than anything else, to be honest. Like I see when you're not on social media, like you feel withdrawal symptoms. Like you go on a vacation, you decide, okay, I'm not going to be on my phone. I'm not going to look at Instagram, chat, and you're anxious. You're like, okay, but like what's happening? Like I'm so out of the loop. And like that
Yeah.
incessant need to constantly look at your phone and like make sure you're up to date is it's with everyone. And chemically speaking, what happens in your brain is that when somebody likes your picture and when you post and you get a good response, dopamine is released in your brain, and that is the feeling that you like, that constantly like makes you want to post more, makes you want to be more active, and it keeps happening. So it's just become like an addiction more than anything else.
And how much do you think that what you actually do in your real life is dependent on whether or not it can be posted? Is that also a factor?
Yeah, I think
Where
that
what you
so
eat, what you wear, who you are with. There may be times I know in my generation, there are times we just, want to get down wearing anything.
yeah.
But, you could post pictures of this. So how do you look? What about your hair? What about all of this? Is all of that, is your real life defined by what you're going to post on social media?
A lot of the times it influences it. I don't know if you can use the term defined to everyday or like on an everyday basis, but like if you talk
Okay.
about, for example, like your vacations, when you look at people online, like I remember looking at posts where like I'm seeing people lying down in the middle of an ocean in the Bahamas, and like, and they have like all these witty captions like I'm taking a nap in the ocean and stuff, and I'm looking at myself wearing my pajamas, looking at like watching a movie, and I'm like what am I doing? So it does put a
Yeah.
pressure in that sense that like, oh, I need to go out and do stuff like this. I mean, honestly, the fashion part of it and like the way you look and the way you dress, that is 100%, like I feel like very, very, I think, defined by social media. That's the word you can use, because what happens is that teenagers are very, I would say, dynamic in terms of the fact that they can adapt to trends really well. Like we do,
Right.
all of us adapt to the trends we see. So you look at Instagram and you see like a new, like, like nowadays these tiny poses are in. And I see so many people around me going out and buying them because they're like, oh, we need to be trendy and we need to like, fit in, and like, I
Right.
have to like follow that trend. So
Right.
it happens for sure. Like you go out and you do things because social media tells you to do it, because you see all your favorite influencers wearing these clothes and
Right.
wearing bags, and
Right.
yeah.
So tell me, do teenagers also understand that it's not a reality and it's not the way of life?
I
Because it's, your so-called influencers
Yeah.
not necessarily are having the rocking life that they're projecting on their social media. They're not necessarily having careers. They probably have a million followers, and I always have this discussion with some of my friends, that how many people who on social media who have a million followers are actually having work and have a steady income and
Yeah.
have cash in their bank
Yeah.
accounts. Maybe they do, great for them, maybe they don't, but do teenagers really understand this?
So I think that teenagers are like, the reason why they're called influencers is because of the impact that they have on like their fans and the
Yeah.
life, right? And a lot of the times while teenagers consciously tell themselves that okay, this is a highlight reel, you may not subconsciously realize that it is. So you go online and you see them posting about like these exquisite things and then doing brand deals, and you feel inadequate, right? And it induces in you a feeling
Yeah.
of inadequacy because you're like, okay, but like I'm nowhere near where she is. And I look at people my age, like kids my age, all over the world who are pursuing social media as an actual career, like where they want to actually earn revenue and like earn
Yeah.
money.
Reality of that, even how can that even be a career? Just being an influencer, how is that even a career?
No,
how
so
how is that creative
capital
output?
you
Yeah.
when you capitalize it, you get those steady brand deals. Like people have like like they have deals and like contracts for like years with brands. So because of that, the minute they post like a certain amount of pictures and like stuff like that, and they promote this one product, they generate revenue from that. But I mean, obviously, it's all dependent on your statistics, right? As an influencer, your followers
Yeah.
go down, engagement goes down, and it's kind of gone.
Yeah.
But what happens is that like I see so many kids my age across the world who are like social media influencers and they have so many followers, and you look at them and you're like, I am the same age as them, and I'm in the 12th grade studying when they're like
Right.
going brand deal trips and they're like earning money and like on their own 2 feet. So yeah, it's scary. It's scary to
Do
like.
you think, sorry, do you think this is affecting education? I know the new generation is also, while all of this social media talk, but I also know the new generation. I have nieces and nephews who are so focused, razor sharp, know exactly where they're going in life, what they want to do, what they want to do with their lives. We had no clue when we were teenagers and kids
Yeah,
where we were going. We just
yeah.
knew that 10th ke baad 11th jana hai, 5 years we're set. After that, we'll figure out what life, because life ended at graduation. We didn't know, anything different. But having said that, is it affecting education in any which way?
No. So I don't see, at least with my community of friends and the people I see my age, I see them very focused, very determined. Like it's college season right now, everyone's applying. So like everyone is really focused towards their end goal for sure, no matter what.
Yeah.
I think that, but that's something that you can say about, I feel like, Indian kids because they've been brought up in that way where you are career oriented, you are like
Correct.
focused towards what you want to do in life. But like I mean, if you see people maybe in the US, for example, like I see people my age who don't go to college and who don't go to school because they feel like right now I have an opportunity, like I've got my moment in social media, and education
Right.
can happen at any point in my life. So they push that on the back burner, they
Right.
capitalize on this like boost in followers or like their 7 minutes of fame that they've got, and
Right.
use that and then keep their education for later.
But that also leads to not being that intelligent and mentally sharp, no? Because it's kind of, you are also using very productive, constructive hours of your day, and especially at your age, which are the formative years and which is the years for development, and everything that you absorb is a lot easier at your age than it is at our age.
Yeah.
You're actually being useless to a lot of extent, right? Because those hours can be consumed in acquiring a skill, in honing a talent, in studying something more. Those values don't seem to have any merits anymore. Is it true?
So I think that once again, I think that there's a big cultural disparity here because I feel like, I mean, okay, personally speaking, like Indian moms, they're not gonna let you do that. They're not gonna let you waste your entire
Yeah.
day down. But
Yeah.
like people in the US, I feel like it's a genuine skill and talent. Like social media in itself is an actual legitimate career, and it's something that they really consider to be important at the same level as most other careers. So even like dancing in front of a camera, you're still honing that like talent and skill of dancing. Like most professional dancers have now become like TikTok stars, and that's the way they've like
Yeah.
converted and that they still feel like when they dance in front of a camera, that's being productive. Like when they
And I don't have children of my own, but how thankful I am to this government for having banned that TikTok. I thought it was a I thought it was a disease like COVID that needed to be eradicated from the face of this earth, because I have never understood this. And I run dance fitness studios and I know dancers and I know, like TikTok. But I mean, so that brings me to my other question that, while there is also a complex, right, that you're not doing enough, you're not being enough, you're not skinny enough, you're not vacationing enough, and all of that, does it also give you an unrealistic, inflated sense of ego because you have 1,000 likes on a post you've made, or you've put this video out and suddenly people are like, does it also add an unrealistic ego to your boost to your image? Does that also happen?
I'm sure. I think, that's where this gets really dicey, is that if you don't have your basic foundation really strong in your values, and if you're not really rooted in those, social media can take you to another level. Like you can see, like, when you see, like, you have, oh, I have like 10,000 followers. Like, I'm not going to speak to someone with 200 followers. Like you look at somebody and you're like, not like, this is not in my league. Like people literally make friendships based off of that when they look at like people
Right.
with followers.
Yeah, you brought us something very interesting up again. Friendships. Are friendships based on social media, contacts, likes, popularity?
A lot of the time, yeah, like people look at people with maybe like over 1,000 or 2,000 followers, and they're like, okay, yeah, like, I would like to be friends with them. And like, I feel like friendships have a whole other angle only with social media, because I feel like interpersonal connections have just gone down the drain. Like, I really want to ask you, like, you see, like, your generation didn't grow up with social media. Y'all actually went out, played in the garden, like,
Yeah.
and like, we've grown up in a place where, like, right now, like, if you want to go over to someone's house, you call them, you ask them, you make sure everyone's free, everything's okay. Like, you don't run over and play with the other person, right? And I just want to, do you see like people like in your generation and like your age now, kind of struggle with that interpersonal connection? Because I definitely see people my age do it. Like, you're so used to that online form of connection and talking and conversing, where you can reply at your own time and, like, be very like poised and centered when you're replying. Like, you don't necessarily, like, when you're confronted with an actual physical conversation, you can't do it sometimes. So I just want to know, like, does your generation...
So I have to tell you, in that context, I was chatting with my 13-year-old niece, and you know Dia, and you've met Dia, and I'm used to her and her whole chapar and her social media, whatever. I thought this 13-year-old took it to another level altogether, because suddenly the generation gap between an 18-year-old and a 13-year-old. So I think Vedant will be able to help us in this. But she actually said stuff like, you don't actually pick up the phone and call anyone. You text them, because otherwise you're needy and desperate. You most certainly don't do it twice. Then there is this whole concept of skinny ratio and fat ratio. Are you aware of what this is?
Yeah.
I have been enlightened. So I have been enlightened on this subject last week, that if you follow more people than people follow you, that's a fat ratio. And if you have more followers than the people you follow, and my mind was blown. I said, what kind of a life is this? And I don't know this, and I'm just like, I said, how do you guys deal with this? Where is this generation going? Where are you likely to have real solid friendships, relationships? Even relationships, it doesn't work, move on, doesn't work. I mean, where is this even going, all of this?
Yeah, no, it's a very valid question to have, because you see, it's weird because this lockdown, I think, has gone in two different directions for a lot of people. So there's people who have gone in the complete one direction, where they're like, online friendships, I'm gonna, like, socialize more through like media, Instagram, I'm gonna meet new people online. And then, like, personally for me, what happened was that I have kind of reached that place where, like, I'm tired of being online all the time. Like, you have school online and then you want to go back and you want to talk to people online. Like, I can't do it. So for me, it's been like, I've realized who my real friends are, what my close group is, who's really gonna be with me. But with a lot of people, like, especially with like the younger people, like with my brother, for example, like, I see him trying to go make new friends right now. Like, try to get to know more people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that I also, because I know your parents and I know your family really well, and I feel we're very blessed that we come from these kind of upbringings where, where we have a very strong grounding, and even a little bit that we step out of this, we're put in check. What about people around you? People, sometimes even I see young girls, I see girls who come and work with me. They have such aspirations because they see all these fancy clothes, designer bags, and they're not able to have that because it's unrealistic at that age to be able to afford all of that. What kind of a strain does this put on your relationships with parents? And I'm not referring to yours in particular, but I'm trying to say, in general, of your friends that you see around, what kind of strain do you think it puts on the relationships of children with parents, where parents are not perhaps able to provide that kind of lifestyle to these kids, or then they're giving too much because there's just too much. So there's both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
What happens then?
So, Anshul, I think everybody reacts to situation differently. But so even some of my friends, like, and my friends' parents, I've seen them go through something like this. And what I see is that, like, I see a lot of parents feel very guilty that they can't provide their children with a lifestyle that their children want. Right? You go to your parents and you're like, I don't want to shop at like Zara and H&M anymore. Like, I want Off-White, Gucci, and I don't want this anymore. And they are trying to like make ends meet with the funds that they have, and then you bring this up to them, and it's like an additional pressure, right? It's like, okay, my child wants this and I don't want my child to be unhappy, but
Exactly.
I'm struggling to make ends meet. So it sucks because even for them it's like they're in a dilemma. The child is facing their own pressure. It's not like the child is doing it just because they want to do it. They want to do it just because they're seeing people do this, and the people that they love and they look up to and they idealize, they're seeing them do it. And what most people don't realize is that social media, when you get into it as a career, it gives you a lot of money, but not for a very long period of time, most of the times. So for that short period of time,
Come from an old school, I don't even consider it a career. So unless you're not actually manufacturing something, teaching something, are an artist, where you have some skill, you're a doctor, I don't consider social media as a profession in any which way, because you are just, what are you even doing? Collecting followers, is that a job? And okay, you get freebies. Is that really a lifestyle that you're aspiring for? Because a lot of it is freebies, right?
no, so that's the thing. So there's two kinds of influencers. You see influencers who capitalize on their current fame. They're like, okay, I've got this, I'm gonna make money off of it. And then I've seen as well, like a lot of the influencers that I've seen, they sell merch. They make sure that that's a steady stream of income as well. Like they create their own like collections and lines, and then they put that, like, okay, like even like Kylie Jenner, like, for example, like she hasn't just capitalized on her followers, she's created a whole brand. Like she's created Kylie Cosmetics, which is what made her, like, social media didn't make her who she is. Kylie Cosmetics made her.
But there is social responsibility to all of this. Do all these influencers realize that there are young kids? Social media is an unfiltered platform, and there is so much content out there. Is there any level of accountability and responsibility on the part of these influencers that, look, I am not going to put out this content no matter how much I'm getting paid to do this, or I'm not going to put this out because it's not socially, morally ethical? What about all of that? Does that have any relevance at all? Or it's just like, for all, put what you want, don't care as long as I make money from it?
No, so that's the thing, right? If you look at a lot of the TikTok influencers, you know what their age group is? Their age group is like 10 to 15. Like that's how young their following is. And you see a lot of them like putting pictures up when they're partying like during the pandemic, wearing masks, right? And you see them do that and they're unapologetic of it. Because they're like, if you want to follow me, you can follow me and choose to believe in what I do, or you can unfollow me. That's their mindset. They want to get that pertains to their ideas and their beliefs. So they don't want a following of like 10 to 15-year-olds. They want the following of like that 15 to 18. So they're like, it's okay if you want, but this is what I'm going to post. What happens that it's the responsibility is put on the followers, not on the influencers themselves.
Which is not okay, because it's kind of a push marketing because if it's shoved in your face constantly, like I feel someone who struggled. I ran a conventional business for so many years, but the nature of my work was such that sooner or later, see, if you're in a manufacturing, you're manufacturing a product, you've been doing it for 20 years, you're doing it today, you don't have to be on social media because it's a B2B, or you have your
Yeah.
traders, you have your trade. The nature of my work started off as something which was very simple and easy, but then suddenly this whole thing became that, oh, you know, you have to have this massive social media presence. And if you don't have that, even businesses are difficult to sustain. So people also who are in these small and medium businesses are not able to sustain until there is a strong social media presence. And all
Hanshi,
the teenagers.
that's an advantage. Like I personally would perceive that to be an advantage because I'm a part of like this organization called WeCare, and through social media we spread awareness about breast cancer. We've done so many fun. So I mean, wouldn't that technically be an advantage rather than a disadvantage? Because your small and medium enterprises are able to sustain by simply putting out a few posts and like pushing their ads. Like I would consider that to be like a plus.
Yeah. Now imagine if WeCare can't function unless they have a social media presence. I've known Vandana ji for so many years, and you know I've worked so closely with her, and I feel like it's another generation of women that are running that organization, and suddenly the pressure to be on social media and to not be able to do anything or raise funds or actually have an event unless there's a social media presence. It works both ways psychologically. There've always been donors and supporters for cancer. There have always been. I know what you mean. I mean, businesses can't run without social media. I find the same challenge. But I'm just saying that it's also creating this kind of added pressure to sustain a lifestyle that is not unrealistic.
Yeah.
But again, you know, coming back to teenagers, because we've digressed there a little bit. Want to understand, and because you're doing so much work in the space of mental health for teenagers, I also want to understand that what is it that parents or um, head girls like you, what are the kind of constructive steps you are taking to be able to either counsel or ground or regulate, or are school authorities regulating, are parents regulating? What is it? Is there any constructive steps that are being taken to curb this or to control this pandemic? It is worse than COVID, if you ask.
No, so okay, so here's what I would say. I would say that the absence of social media right now is impossible. I'm like
Okay.
that you being off of Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter is literally impossible. Like it's not something that you can aspire. But I think the one thing you can do is you can customize it to a way in which it's healthy for you. So like for example, if you feel like you see certain posts on Instagram that make you feel bad, like make you feel like anxious or make you feel unfollow. Now that what happens with the unfollowing situation is that like a lot of times people are like friends with a bunch of people and they're like, okay, these people make me feel bad, but they're my friends, so I'm not gonna unfollow. So stuff like that kind of needs to be worked out. To like make sure social media is a place that is safe for you. Social media is supposed to be a channel. It's not supposed to be a place where you go and it's gonna make you more anxious, make you feel bad about the way you are, the way you look, how you feel. It's supposed to be a place that's supposed to give you happiness. You know, you need to consciously remind yourself that this is a highlight reel. Like this person is not lying down in the middle of the ocean, Bahamas, 24/7, right? They're just like me. They sit in front of the TV and they eat their pajamas. And like I think that with teenagers that gets lost. That you need to keep reminding yourself that listen, they are just as human as I am. They go through their lows. I go through my lows. And stop giving yourself all these unrealistic expectations. Stop putting that pressure on you because these influencers can't.
Yeah, but Nanu, how do you deal with this? Because I feel even adults with so much maturity, understanding, education struggle with this, presenting this image on social media or whatever. I just I don't understand how teenagers do it. How do you deal with this issue? How do you deal with girls who are, and girls go through all stages of, all stages in emotions, in body shapes, at all ages or whatever? How do you deal at that age when you know you're struggling with body weight, or you're not skinny enough, or you're not pretty enough, or whatever? How do you deal with this? What is the constructive steps that you take for this?
So I think the first most important thing is to work on yourself. Make sure you grow that confidence and you grow that love for yourself within yourself first. Because, you know, Anchibo, if you have that within you, nothing in the world can make you feel bad about yourself. Like, make sure you keep reminding yourself that I am perfect just the way I am. I literally am. Like, it doesn't matter if that model that I see on Instagram every day looks like she has put on 5 pounds of makeup when she
Yeah.
wakes up. You know, I wake up
Yeah.
with that's okay. You know, like, it's
Yeah.
okay to like not fit into this one idea and criteria of beauty. And I
Yeah.
think what happens is that also a lot of the times the social media, like now, I feel like the social media community is changing. I think that there's more plus size models, is what you call them, and like I feel like there's more body positivity. There's greater acceptance for the LGBTQ community. All of this is
Right.
important. Like, and also I think it's the way you look at social media. I think for me, I used to be the same. I used to like, if you see me a year ago, like I would look and I would be like, oh wow, like look at her, like look at where she is and look at how she looks, and like, you know, you would try to be them. But now
Yeah.
I feel like I see my friends and I see myself and I'm like, okay, I look at social media as a platform where I can do political activism, where I can talk about the US elections, where I can talk about problems in the world, where I can talk about like the environmental problems. And I think that that's important as well. Like, I think that is the true purpose. And like, that is what social media was created for, is to spread awareness, because now it's reached so many people that it's the
Yeah.
best way to inform everybody. And I think that that is what also is its doom, right? The fact that it's reached so many people. So I
I'm
would,
going to take a moment to tell you how proud I am to hear you talk like this. I genuinely am. And I think I lost track of my, because I got to personally here with my feelings for you. And what a lovely grown up to me. So I'm terribly proud of the person that you've become, and thanks to your lovely parents. But also that comes back to, my view is that if there was not this undue influence of social media, there would not be all this extended need for spirituality and self-work and self-love. We've grown up in an environment that didn't have, so I didn't have somebody that I was not looking at a model 24/7, then feeling shit about my life, and then feeling the need to do self-work. Do you understand the vicious circle? Where does the need for self-work come? Your self-worth and all the love and the self-love comes from your friends and family that you have rallying around you. It doesn't have to come from all this level of traumatic self-work that you need to do on yourself, because I feel all of this is also coming because this situation externally has been created which didn't even exist. So
yeah,
this is my view and opinion. And I think that here, see, Ruchi is laughing. So here I think the message that we would really like to convey ultimately, and we've had a very extended chat. None of my chats uh, really extend beyond a certain point. But the thing is that I think I want to do a part two of this with you, because I want to also come down to actually sharing with, also having parents put in their views and opinions on what they feel about their children being on social media. And secondly, constructive steps to help really counsel children. Hi, Dia, this is very relevant to you. To help counsel children that social media is not the reality of your life,
yeah,
because it's very difficult, even at this age, sometimes when you see other people, it's human nature to feel that, oh, this person, it's so, I cannot imagine what teenagers go through in this. So I really feel that because you write all these blogs and I've read them and they're beautiful, that you keep doing this work in all, because it's so important to keep communicating this message that that is not the reality of life. And I think you should keep writing and keep giving a more constructive message out there, where people, where people just really understand that this is not true. And Madhu Auntie has just joined. It's really nice to see you, Madhu Auntie. Hi. And yeah, I think your work is incredible.
thank
I
you
think
so
this
much
topic is
for having me.
not at all. It's my pleasure. I'm so happy, and for me, it's a learning to be surrounded by kids your age. I am to constantly just struggling with social media. I'm just anyway. I'm technology challenged, which everyone knows, and then it comes to social media, and then not being able to run business without social media. So I'm anyway running. Dia, please do this. Dia, please figure this out. Having said that, it's incredible work that you're doing through your blog. Please share the link of your blogs also. I want to put it on our page. I really would love for teenagers to read the message that you have to say to them. And thank you for being on my chat. I'm very proud of you and the lovely person that you've become. And thank you. Yes, we discussed the skinny ratio and fat ratio, Diya. If you have a relevant, otherwise, we're wrapping this chat up. And if you have anything more to share, please put it on your blog. I'm happy to share the link on my page, and we can do a part 2 of this chat.
I'm looking forward. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much
Thank,
fun. Bye.
thank you. Bye. Bye.